everyone, this is Mrs. Hoffman again. Today we're going to be traveling to a country called Japan. And in Japan, every May 5th, the Japanese people celebrate a festival called the Kodomo no Hi, or Children's Day, every May 5th of the year. And we are going to be celebrating this together. So a little bit about Japan. Japan is an island country located off of the eastern coast of the Asian continent. It's bordered by the Pacific Ocean to the east and the Sea of Japan to the west. And we're going to be creating what's called the koinobori, which is the carp kite. The carp kite originally came from the banners or flags that were used by the samurai warriors on the battlefield and had carp on them to represent strength. This is an example of a carp fish painting. This is also called a koi fish. A koi is just another name for carp fish. And we are going to be creating these beautiful carp fish kites to represent the festival that happens every May 5th. Now here is one that I made and hung for my family, and you're going to be creating one for you and representing you and your family. Okay guys, let's get started on our kites. So I have this really cool book that I wanted to share with you. It's called I Live in Tokyo. And I'm actually not going to read it to you, but I wanted to look at this front cover as a picture of the carp fish kites that you would see flying outside in Japan on May 5th around Children's Day. And I just want to talk a little bit about this fish and why it is picked as the Children's Day fish, because this fish is called a koi fish and it is known for swimming upstream. And I want you to think about how hard it is to swim upstream. If you've ever been in the ocean and maybe you felt the current kind of push you, the fish that are going against the current and the stream are really having a lot more strength than some other fish that might be able to just swim with the current. So this is why they chose this fish, because it's a really strong fish and it represents the strength in children. And I think this is a great way to celebrate us and being home and having that strength in the last couple of weeks to stay safe and be away from other people, even though that might not be something we want to do. So we're going to celebrate each and every one of you, and we're going to all make a fish kite, which is going to be really fun and beautiful. And I'm hoping that everybody in the school is actually going to make one to represent all the kids in our school. So if you have bigger brothers or sisters or younger brothers or sisters, I'm hoping that you guys can do this together. I want you to celebrate each other together. So that's my hope for you guys. So we're gonna put this to the side for a second. I wanna talk about a couple of things that we need to get started. If you could find a piece of white paper, it could also be a colorful paper, anything that you have lying around. I do like to use a larger piece, but if you have something smaller, that's perfect. It doesn't need to be that large, or if you wanna make it larger, you could just tape two pieces of paper together. Completely up to you. You don't need to. Colorful paper, I've done this kite with colorful paper, so you don't have to do it on white paper. You could do it with the color pink or green or whatever that you can find construction paper around your house. So we're going to get started. You also need a pencil, some glue, a piece of string. This is optional. If you can't find a piece of string, that's okay. We can kind of do that later. And if you have some tape or even a stapler, if you don't have tape, that would work too. And I also found in my gift wrapping box some tissue paper. So if you have some tissue paper, you could also use any type of thin material like this. Newspaper works really great, magazines work really great. I also, which I think is kind of funny, but I thought about even using toilet paper. I know we all have some of this lying around, so if you could find toilet paper, you could actually cut it up into strips as well, and that would be great. So anything that you can find for streamers, something that's a little thinner that's going to blow in the wind, okay? And then if you want to color your carp fish, I have watercolor, I have oil pastels, I have markers, you can use crayon, anything that you have at your house to add color to your kite is completely fine. If you don't have anything to add color, you can just use pencil and marker, whatever it is that you want to do for your kite. So to get started, we actually are going to fold our paper the long way, and I do call this the hot dog bun fold, all right? This would be the hamburger bun. We're gonna do the hot dog bun. Make it long and skinny. You're gonna match the corners up, and then you're just gonna make a crease down the center. And I just wanna show you real quick the kite that I made. So here's my kite. And then this side's a little bit more simple with our shapes and lines. And then if I flip it over, you can see, you can kind of get a little bit more complicated with the way that you color it in. So if you want to do some different details or add some special details, you can go ahead and make it as simple or as complicated as you want. All right, to get started, at the top of your paper, all right, we're gonna find the open side, all right, and we're gonna find the crease side. The crease side is what we want as far as where we're gonna start to draw our fish. So you're just gonna start at the top and you're gonna draw a straight line coming down. I like to measure about 3 fingers width coming down the page. And you can see my line's about halfway across, okay? Now, see how it's open over here? We wanna make sure we have the opening over here when we draw this, okay? Because if I do it the other direction and I cut it out, I'm gonna have 2 separate pieces of paper and it's not going to be connected on this side. It's gonna save you some time from having to tape it back together if you make a mistake. But if you do, it's fine. You could just either start over or you could tape it together if it comes apart. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this line, I'm gonna draw just kind of a curved line. And then at the bottom, if you can see this, I'm actually gonna come out. Okay, so it looks like more like the fin at the end of the fish. Okay, kind of how it curves out. If you wanna make it straight down, that's fine. If you wanna add a little bit more dimension to it, you could also add like a V shape in here to make it look more like a fish, or you can leave it completely simple like this. I just left it completely flat at the bottom on this one. For the younger kids, if you need help with this, ask your parents. Ask them just to draw this outline. This is something that can maybe help you draw. But I want you to try it on your own first. That's why we use a pencil. You always draw lightly. You can always erase it if you have any problems with your drawing. And then just make sure that you're drawing from top to bottom so that we're filling the whole entire page up. We want to make this kite as big as possible. All right, so the second step is we're going to cut it. So get your scissors, and you're gonna cut along the line that you just drew. Now, if you wanna get more creative with this, if you wanna do it differently and make the shape of your fish a little different, I am definitely okay with that. This is your creative project. So I'm just kind of showing you an idea of how to do it. But if you wanna make yours a little different, that's fine. All right. Now, I want you to unfold it. Okay, when we unfold it, you're gonna have 2 sides of the fish. It's almost like you're smushing your fish down. Eventually, we're gonna fold it back up so that it's like this, but we do wanna have 2 sides to our fish because this is something that we're not just gonna lay flat on the table when we're looking at our piece of artwork. This is something that's almost like a sculpture. We're gonna be able to view it from all sides as it's blowing in the wind. So we wanna make sure we do both sides. We're gonna think about symmetry for this as well. We wanna make sure we have the same thing going on each side. I'm gonna jump right into my color, but if you wanna just draw in pencil first, that's fine. I like to use oil pastel because I think they're nice and bright colors, but you can definitely use crayon. I'm just doing it with the oil pastel so you can see it a little bit easier on the screen. All right, so you definitely want an eye. Nice big circle on both sides, 1 on each side, okay? Now, if you wanna make your eye a little bit more complicated, you wanna add eyelashes or you wanna add different colors in the eye, you wanna make circles within circles and do different colors, completely up to you. This is your carp fish. Now, I am going to just color this whole thing in, but to save some time. I'm gonna do it on both sides. And remember, it's gonna look a little funny until you're done because right now it's kind of a flattened out fish. color that in nice and dark. And then maybe some eyelashes for this guy. And give it some more human-like qualities. It's up to you. If you don't want to, you want to make it more like a fish, you could do like a circle within a circle and it looks more like a fish's eye. All right, so thinking about lines, simple shapes, we want to create the scales of the fish. I also want you to make sure that you're including the fish's different details for the fins and the tail. So I don't care what color you use, you can make your fin any way you like. I did this one, which is kind of like a curved rectangle kind of shape. You can make yours more organic looking, which is more natural looking. You want to do the same on both sides though. Okay. So there's my fin. You want to add different colors inside of it. That's great. I'm going to color that in. I'm just kind of giving it some color here. I'm not going to do the whole thing. But you definitely could color the whole thing in. So I just quickly, I'm kind of coloring a little fast, but I would take my time and do a little bit darker like I did over on the sides here. All right, so maybe I color it in. And then I'm gonna choose some pink. And I'm gonna show you how to do this type of line, which makes it look like a scale. But if you want to, you could do zigzag lines, you could do just regular curvy lines, you could do polka dotted fish, you could make your fish look like it has rainbows on it. It's up to you. Be completely creative with this. I'm just gonna show you how I did mine if you're interested in looking at this guy over here. And that's just a U and a U and a U and a U, and just connecting those U's together, and then just doing another line of them, kind of skipping over what you drew for your fin. Now, I'll just give you an idea of what it looks like maybe if you were to add the zigzag line, which would be kind of cool. You want to make it polka dotted, you want to have a bunch of circles, but you do want to try to do the same thing on both sides, okay? You have just some dashes here. Dotted line, okay? Fill up your whole fish with different scales or the same scale. Try to make it nice and colorful if you have color. If you don't have color, that's fine. And then we also want to add some detail to the tail. So this can be done however you want. You do lines going this way to make it look more like a tail, like it's moving. Now for my example, what I did, if you wanted to add some different details, I took my line and then I added other details on top of my lines, and I colored the lines in, I added layers of color on top of each other. This is going to give you a more detailed look to your fish, okay? And I started to do that at the top here. On the other side, plain and simple, still looks really beautiful with the colors. If you have watercolor, I think it would be really pretty to go ahead and watercolor it, but if you don't have watercolor, you don't have to do that. You could even use the technique I talked about with some people with taking a marker, adding some marker in here. And then you could take a brush with plain water and just brush on top of it, and the marker actually will turn into watercolor. So if you have any markers at home that are not permanent, anything that's a not permanent marker, which should work for you, and you could just add a little bit of water on top and it'll spread the marker around and give you some cool coloring, watercoloring kind of features. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and paint the whole thing for you, but you can kind of get an idea of how else you could add some color. Once you're done, I want you to fold it back up. Okay, now we're folding our fish back up. All right, everybody see this? Maybe you want to add some, once you see it like this, maybe you can be like, oh, maybe I want to add some more details up here, but I kind of forgot how to, to add some details up here by the mouth. But you don't have to. You can keep it simple if you'd like. All right. Once you get to this point, you're going to get your tape or your, I'm sorry, not doing that yet. You're going to get some glue. So unfold it after you kind of realize, okay, it looks great. I'm liking the way it looks. Just double check you like it before we start adding the streamers on. Okay. So at the bottom, we want to find the bottom. We're not going to do any streamers up the sides. You're just going to put some streamers along the bottom. Because when we fold it back up, it's going to be kind of silly if the streamers are coming out from the top. But if you want to add other fins or do any other details, go ahead. You can totally do that. All right, so I'm going to just take my tissue paper and a little bit of glue. Remember, don't use a lot of glue because this type of paper is really thin and it's going to get super sticky if you add too much. So if you're using Elmer's glue, the white glue, just a tiny little dot. And you're just going to go across this edge with your tissue paper or your newspaper or your toilet paper, whatever you found for your material. I'll just show you kind of a combination of both. Stick that on. If you use Elmer's glue, you might want to let it dry before you start to put the whole thing together this way, just so that it doesn't stick. All right. So now I have some streamers. If you want to add some details on the streamers, you can do that too. All right. I'm going to take my fish, I'm going to fold it back up. Now you can see the streamers are coming out from the bottom, which is really pretty. And this is what's going to blow in the wind. It's going to be really pretty. All right. Take your tape or your stapler, and all you're going to do is just close this guy up. You don't have to use a ton of tape, just a kind of few. You don't have to seal all the edges, just enough so that it's staying together. All right. Tape the edges. And then the last thing we're going to do is we are going to add the string so that it can fly. All right, so at the top, if you have a hole puncher, you can punch a hole up there. I'll show you another way that you can get a hole in the top. You can just fold over and just take your scissors and cut it. So there's a little hole there, okay? I'm gonna add a little tape there. I think I went a little too far with it. And then you're gonna take your string, feed it through the hole, and then we're just gonna tie a knot at the top. And if you need an adult to help you with that part, that's completely fine, all right? So there's our kite. It's looking great. I do want you to try, maybe take it outside and let the wind, flow through it. I think it's gonna look really pretty if you wanna hang it somewhere. Just remember, it is made out of paper though. These aren't the kites that are made out of fabric. So it probably won't last if you have any kind of rain or anything outside. So make sure you do take it down before it rains. But I think it's a beautiful thing to watch the wind kind of go through the kite's tail. And that's gonna make it look like a moving sculpture, okay? So there's our fish kite. Not too hard, and you can kind of have some different ideas. I'm actually gonna post a couple pictures of some ideas of how to do different kites. Maybe you can get some ideas from them as well. There's also a video that I want you to watch, just like a 2-minute video about Children's Day. And if you could just check that out, and then when you're done, I would love for you to take a photo so that I can see your kites. And if you could just make sure you upload it to our Google Classroom, and please make sure you're pushing the turn it in button so that I know that it's there. If you decide to email it to me, you still need to turn it in through the turn it in button so that it doesn't look like it's missing. And I'm hoping you're going to have a lot of fun with the kites. I can't wait to see how everyone's turned out, and I'm hoping that you can do this as a family if you have older brothers or sisters in our school. All right, have an awesome week, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.